Welcome back, everyone, to the DreamHack Open featuring Fortnite semifinals for the North American East region. We're about 2 hours done, 1 hour to go for the semifinals, where our players, 1,500 of them, are trying to be the top 100 to make it to the grand finals. At those grand finals, the $250,000 prize pool awaits them. And that is not a short amount of change to sneeze at, chat. Joining me, of course, it's none other than Sancho, West, and Sundown. I'm your host, Hello Kelly Link. And let's just jump right into it. Let's take a quick look at the top 20 leaderboard right now to see where our players are standing. Since there's 1,500 players going on, though, chat, there are a lot of lobbies, and a lot of these standings could instantly change in just a few moments. But taking a look at first place right there, it's none other than Epic Whale. Below him, it's going to be Crunchy in second place. We still have Day in third, Scrubs, though, slowly coming up in fourth. And then we have Shark in fifth place. But Sundown, is there any player that you expected to see in the top 20 that we're not seeing right now?
You started to see a lot of the EU invasion kind of wear off. I'm surprised we don't have a single player. It looks like, oh no, I lied. Floki is up there, but the rest of them have begun to fall off. So good job on Floki for maintaining the pace. But a little surprised we don't see at least one other. Generally, there's one or two standouts who are above the rest. So surprised nobody's there with Floki, but we're on a good pace so far.
To me, the big surprise, of course, Asian Jeff on 18th. Maybe it's not a surprise. He's obviously a great player, but he's one of my favorites ever since that shark attack. So I'm always going to call him out, of course. But Sancho, you had something you wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I had to look at the rest of the board. I mean, I said that there was a lot of notable names on the outside looking in, and they just stepped it up. I mean, Booga, Eclipse, Jamper, Miro from the EU is still keeping up that invasion vibe going, but a lot of other 100 Thieves evolved. I mean, Arkham's on the bottom, but Falconer, a name that we haven't heard in a long time in the solo scene is here as well, so that's very exciting. And, of course, Commandment, who started off the day so hot, is still in the top 100. And, of course, Zate, which we haven't seen yet on the broadcast, is sitting around the 50s. So it's very, very cool. All the big names are just saying, hey, FNCS solos was something that we could have done a lot better on, and we're stepping up here today in the DreamHack Open.
I also like looking at the players that are around that 100 mark. We have Cease, who's at 105th place right now. I believe the cutoff points is 189 points right now. So in this last hour, this is really where we're going to see the top 100 flesh out. These players probably play a little bit more risky, or I want to know, Sundown, if you're right at that precipice, if you're like 105th place, do you play risky, try and go for the elimination points, or do you play it safe and try and get the placement points, or both?
Nope. Stick to your game plan, get your placement points. What you're doing has been working so far. It just takes a little bit more, and just get yourself into that game.
Well, speaking of getting into the game, we're getting into the game right now, chat, but I'll see you afterwards. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Of course, great work as always, and such a soldier. Want to give her a shout out for going through not only both of the heats last night, but the semifinals and grand finals today, which will be right after this. Now we're hopping into the match right away. You can see the bus path on the left-hand side. In the top right and the bottom right, we'll have two of our key players that the bus does work from that northwest to almost the southeast corner, a little bit of a northerly cut as we're just above retail row here. We start to see kind of where the players are spreading out as we have Liquid Sebi and MCES Andalix both dropping in, and two different European players coming over. One French, and Sebi actually being the Costa Rican player, but currently is based in Europe.
I love it. I remember that story, a Sebi story where, he had to get his parents and convince them. Am I the right? This is the right Sebi I remember, where he convinced his parents to move to EU so he could compete at a high level?
Yeah, now, but like he was just recently talking about his struggle of finding a trio over in there, whether or not he's going to come back and play in NA East. So lots to keep an eye out for. But right now, keeping an eye on, of course, Caddy Corner, as Kit's loot is so key. As we get into the back half here, we see Andalix and Redux in a fight over in this area. You also have Controller and a number of other players nearby, and Redux is going to get taken down nearly right away there. That was Voil picking that one, but Andalix trying to get some pressure onto Voil and actually going to get picked up by that Harpoon, catching a shot there and taking a sizable chunk of his damage. It's going to drop down towards the outside, take the fall damage, and Voil turns it around, picking that one up. Big 2 elimination swing from Voil, living with just 14 HP.
Oh man, Andalix trying to keep up the theme of the EU invasion. He did so well. Again, the FNCS duo champion with Nate and Andelix goes down to View Oil. There's another, you know, one of those players that's on the bubble, 130. I mean, he could have a pop-off game. We kind of saw in that top 20 there. The Stretch was able to get himself from 140 points up to 200 or so. So Stretch, again, the DreamHack champion, trying to defend the belt here as we're on board here. The Authority, where there's so much offense and defense happening. This is a prime spot to fight for box fighters, and that's why you see a lot of, you know, the controller players do so well back in the day, like Arkham and of course Epic Whale, who are teammates. Epic Whale are currently sitting in our first place in this semifinals, and that's a really tough. That's tough. You got to go across your body, just like in football. Throwing a pass across the body is so difficult, and Arturo tried to do that, but he's going to go ahead and go with the aggressive play, go right dead center, throwing the bullet passes right to the chest, and Arturo rolls on here with 145 points.
And a good job picking that one up. You talked about kind of when Authority was the agency, and you had Midas's drum gun in here. It really was just such a boon for players who really enjoy the dive in the box playstyle. I mean, Epic Whale popularized it, but now kind of the changes to the drum gun, a little bit reduction in there. It's much more focused on getting that glider grapnel gun and just getting out of that situation, prioritizing just how strong of a rotation tool that is, and then getting on with your game, because that alone can basically carry you into a mid, if not a late game placement. So now we're on board here with the best of Void, trying to find room, get himself up to the effective 100 HP mark, but right now, you can see Brutal putting some shots in from him, and he only has 62 builds. So the more Brutal is able to kind of burn him through these materials early on, the sooner Void is going to be pressured to kind of make a play. He can't just sit here and outlast.
And that is what he does. Void does return some shots here. As soon as Void finds out that Brutal is low on mats, no doubt he's going to push on out. But you got to be careful here. You don't want to expend too much into this fight. We've been seeing a lot of engagements here, Sundown, in the early pickings. Considering this is the semifinals, this is the set lobby, so you're gonna see a lot of like contestedness, and Brutal is getting contested really hard right now by Void, as Void does get a nice opening hit. Void's gonna have to keep pushing here. He's gonna use his chug splashes to give himself the confidence that he needs, the HP confidence to continue to push on. Does have that high ground opportunity. Now he's gonna look for a wall take. Gonna do it from that safe distance. It goes right inside the box, but a nice, oh my goodness, Brutal almost slipped away. The cat and mouse game was a fray, but Void gets his prey right then and there and continues on. And already we're taking a look here, 66 people alive. So I'm thinking as we get into the tail end games here, Sundown, a lot of players are just being super aggressive as they're trying to wrap up. Maybe they're approaching their W key games, knowing that we're in the last half here of the DreamHack Open semifinals.
Yeah, you talk about it here. There's only about 35 minutes left to queue up, which means players, we are a little bit behind. We're using the server replays, so we're about 10 to 15 minutes off the actual live point total. As you can see down there, Avery picking up a key elimination out on the outside to make sure he gets that guarantee launch pad. So now we're on board here with YT/Season. We have Spidek on the other side, and it looks like both are aware. No, not aware, actually. Spidek will hop that little half wall, not able to build in that area, and just Slash is immediately going to disengage, fires off the shot, saying, put me on YouTube, trick shotter, who needs one, but not quite going to be able to connect, as Spidek now going to do his best spider impression, trying to get all the way to the other side. Weeba web to track Slash, uses a okay vertical crash pad, but sends himself up rather than falling into the box, giving Slash another opportunity to try and hit that miracle hunting rifle shot. Not quite going to be able to find it. Still looking for it. Can he find the 360 no scope? Not quite going to get it there. Doesn't necessarily have the one to put in the montage. Not screaming at mom to get the camera yet, as Spidek still finally going to find the correct vertical crash pad. Get in. Should have resolved that fight probably about 90 seconds sooner with the first crash pad. It's going to walk away with the 5 points, but that's about it. Nothing really in terms of a loot upgrade. Not a ton of materials either, but does have all of Dirty Docks and the extra 5 points for it, as now we're on board here with Paper.
Spider qualifying from Heat 2, only averaging 2 eliminations. So Spider's on track. He has a lot of work to do to get back up, but Paper as well has some work to do to qualify. One of the big names one of the old G's of the Fortnite scene. We saw Paper in Heat 1 do some nice work, had some good vibes, had some very strong rotations. As I mentioned during that Heat 1, he's a very methodical player, but all that methodical work is going to go out the window as now he's going to extend here, and that is not the person you want coming at you. But here comes the Marauders, maybe the save the day for Paper. Now Keys has to turn his attention. This is going to allow Paper just to get away, and here comes more people into the fray. Casper is on the outside, and he might jump right into Keys as Keys is now desperately getting away as Elo Bug Pepperize is going to be with the Pepper play. Oh my goodness, the Marauders caused so much distraction, and Elo picks it up on Casper. The ghost has been exorcised, and now Paper has to count his blessings as everybody gets his attention away from him. Sundown.
That quite literally might be the most unfortunate or fortunate Marauder drop, depending. If you're Paper, you are thanking your 7 stars you were on the other end of that. If you're Keys, you're wondering how you can get so absurdly unfortunate that the Marauders literally spawned in pre-aggro range on you. And now Paper, if he's able to actually resolve this fight, he's going to end up with 4 players worth of loot. And right now, Snake is sitting on 6 elims, so desperately trying to burn through those slurpfish, make sure those don't go over to Paper. It's actually going to give him a little bit of a deceptive lead because I'm not sure Paper actually heard him take those slurpfish, so he's not going to know he has that extra white HP. He's still pressing forward like he has the lead, but Snake has definitely put him on the back foot. Paper doesn't have anything he can pop here, so now Snake should be able to just press forward and resolve this fight. One shot with that epic charge shotgun will be more than enough to resolve this from any distance away. Paper, though, gonna close the gap and find a huge shot onto Snake, and that's a second one. And Snake, look, oh no, Snake put it back. I apologize. I watched the backside of that, but Snake able to find the key shot. Lost track there, but 7 eliminations and rescuing what should have been an easy elimination for him. Should have been Paper going out to Keys. The Marauder comes in. Snake cleans up the trio of that, gets all of their loot, and now he's going to be on a dead side late rotation with a guaranteed launch pad and 4 crash pads. So set up to be in a good spot, but still a little bit of work to do to catch up.
Wow. I mean, Paper finished 19th place in DreamHack Online in July for the NA East, and you're seeing this is the 4-man loot that you're talking about. Sundown Elo's now is going to pick up the spoils, and he has so many flops, and I think that's why he committed so hard into that fight, knowing that he had all that loot to go back to, especially the 4 floppers. Taking a look at that replay, Nobu Nick eliminates Karazia right there. So more action happening, of course, here at the DreamHack. We will always keep you up to date with the big names going down and what's happening throughout the scene. We do have the grand finals here. All these players are competing to be in that top 100. So just because they got through from the 1,500 players, that doesn't mean their day is over. They still have to keep competing for the grand finals for the lion's share of $250,000. A lot is on the line, ladies and gentlemen. We're just getting started. We're about halfway through this broadcast almost of the DreamHack Open. And that was just crazy, Sundown, to see the entire action breakdown of we had like a 3rd party, 4th party, and then the Marauders coming in. No doubt, you said it. I think Keys is a little bit tilted. He may be justified.
A little bit. A little bit. Might as well be 270 degrees tilted. He's tilted all the way around. He might be standing back upright after that one. Like, lucky that's not the grand finals where you have to wait 45 plus minutes to then queue back up, because in a moment where yes, you've done so much to minimize your RNG. You feel like you have the ability to go down. There is nothing Keys can do to control the Marauders dropping on there. And particularly the spot they dropped in, you don't really get out of that. You have to break the Marauders' line of sight to drop their aggro or make them go on to another player. And there's no way Paper's poking out there. So he had to crash pad up directly into another fight, into a position he didn't want to go ahead of time. So that's like, you talk about tilted, man. Like, luckily, he's able to go queue back up again, because that one would be beyond frustrating for any player.
He had a decent showing in Heat 1, qualifying through that track, finishing 28th place. Got about 2 victory royales, average 4 eliminations, and now has to navigate and reset his mental as a Marauder AI ruined his run. But now we're on board with Glizzy Gary, trying to use that Glizzy power to get him into the grand finals. On the outside looking in, 137 points. Not a lot to work with, but what he does have is a very easy rotation. And then the update here. Wave Flick eliminates Benji Fishy, who, well, as I mentioned a little bit ago during the break, he was on his way in the top 100, but now Benji Fishy, another player on the outside looking in, and see if he could turn it around and continue on with the EU evasion. But now it is Nuki here trying to get this Glizzy out of this lobby and is on the forefront here, pushing right ahead against Gary. And Gary is just gonna run himself into another fight. So Nuki is gonna have this fight, and now it's Glizzy going toe-to-toe right back at it.
Yeah, and you can see Glizzy in the top right there, Nuki in the bottom right. As now we switch right on over to Nuki's screen. Does have the legendary charge shotgun, has 4 bullets there instead of the 3 that you're able to utilize. He's trying to pressure, but Gary doing a good job maintaining the space. And this is kind of what makes these charge shotgun versus charge shotgun fights a little awkward, because you never really want to open up first and you don't get priority when you edit. So if the other player is there, it's hard to actually get the aggression on it. As you can hear right away, that charge shot comes out. Oh no, that's actually a tackle on the other side from Gary. So Gary defensively, excuse me, am I mishearing? No, he was able to get the shot off. That was Nuki able to squeeze one out there really quickly, but it is the charge versus tack. But now a ton of AR shots coming in, and that was Snake on the side. Good push through from Nuki, catching Gary as he was trying to pop one of those shields. That's what we talk about. When you go aggressive with the charge shotgun, you're looking for an opportunity where your opponent is locked in doing something else. And Nuki actually just gonna break that tree with his second crash pad, get right on the edge of the zone, opting to use hard mats because that's all he has.
Yikes, that's all he has, but he's still willing to fight, and he's willing to get aggressive because he has to put it and turn it on, knowing that he only has 125 points, gets to run it in. Can he get the 2-piece? If he had attack, no doubt he'd be able to put some big damage, but he puts 112 right there with the charge, looking for another, trying to strike. The hiss is going off, but he has to retreat just a little bit, just a tad, but he was able to sneak on in and take a lot of mats right there, Sundown. So now Nuki is looking very solid. Almost goes for the cone play. Now he's going to resort going back down and looking for more opportunity to loop back up, getting back to 200 HP. And the good thing is he's feeling good. He's doing the default dance, and zone is really close by, so Nuki could pick up another 5 points. He came in through the heat too, didn't get any victory royales, but finished 43rd place. So Nuki has that ability to get back in, but he's just going to need a monster game here, considering that we're very close to queues being closed here for the semifinals.
And you can see a great job, because he was also really hurting on ammunition before that. Wouldn't have been able to find the refresher, or would have taken just a high degree of execution, but now has a little bit more to work with as he finds a huge 91 shot onto Soul. Soul's immediately going to be on the back foot. That's going to signal a big horizontal crash pad. That's a 70 tag he gets through, putting that legendary charge shotgun to work. You can hear the shots coming out from the rest of the opponent, trying to desperately disengage his Soul. He is going to be forced to pop his floppers, is taking the minis now. AR rifle is going to come in from the side, but a really good job from Soul to kind of navigate this. But now the Storm is going to be moving in and forced on his back. So the question is, who's able to commit and who's able to hang out? They both have floppers, or at least some white heals by the look at it. So not too much pressure going on, but you can see Nuki is hawking this really well. He's going to take the first shot there, but with the 4 floppers, he's going to be more than comfortable sitting far back in the zone. Going to pop one a little bit early and try and figure out where Soul is. Trying to line up the shot. He knows on the side. Horizontal crashback goes in, but misplays it due to the angle. The hill 29 tag comes out, so knows he still has the advantage. 3 floppers is going to give him more than enough time. 104, and this should be it for Nuki. He can effectively just wait this fight out. Nope. Soul is actually going to have another pair of floppers, so we're just getting a good old-fashioned Storm fight in the 3rd zone, cleaning it up, and neither one of these players wants to go down right now. There's 51 players left, so if you go here, it's only your elimination points that matters. And I mean, we want to stick with this, and finally, Nuki's going to stick with it, drop Soul there. That's the 6th elimination swing, or 6-point swing we talked about with the elim and the placement point coming through, but he's forced to burn a lot in terms of his floppers and the launch pad to just get back into zone. Is that we're going to hop on board here with the Vestas Void.
It's going to be a zone that is out in the open. The Vesta Void from Avesta Gaming org, trying to represent and qualify. And the replay here, Spratty Fishy eliminates DT Rise. So a lot of people on the bubble. Again, 1,500 players. There's just so many players to get in. And the story will continue later on. Shio, Monster D-Face will call the grand finals of the NA East DreamHack Open. And then this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, bright and early, at least for my time, 8 a.m. Pacific, you got to do the math and conversions for your time. We will start with the EU region of the DreamHack Open. And what a great way to close out this season for Chapter 2, Season 3, as we're back on board with Nuki, who's on the outside looking in. As zone does reveal, this is the final full circle fourth zone. Before you know it, you're going to get the half in and half out, and then the rotating in games as Nuki is just going all in. And if this is the Nuki of old, must be version 2 Nuki, because this Nuki is out here to play. The last time we saw him was during the FNCS warm-ups. So Nuki trying to get that signature win to add to his resume, and he almost got Stro almost out down to the sliver of health, and he's still on the hunt. He's gonna crash right in right there, put down the big time atomic hits, and Nuki is heating up at the right time, expanding and compounding and exploding and continuing up the leaderboard. I'm sorry, my science is a little bit rusty, Sundown. You may know more about it than I do, but I do know the molecules are cooking right now.
All I know is split atom, go boom. And right there, yes. Nuki made Stro go boom. Stro trying to stand tall, but instead ended up at that 5'4" mark he talked about, way below average. As now Nuki rotating along the backside, has Naort on his back, but I don't think Naort's going to want to engage. If anything, just take a couple of pop shots and then wait. You can see, actually, nope. Instead, Nuki going to be aware of him, backs him off with a huge charge shot saying, "You sure you want to rotate next to me? You sure that's a good idea?"
It was a very bad idea, but I think he has the shockwave in his repertory. So that's why he's going to be very, very passive. And he's going to hold on to that, because sometimes that is the golden ticket. The stats show about, 60% or so. You get that in the chance from the running for a victory royale. So Naort using that opportunity to disengage. He gets himself in a really tough neighborhood, though, with a couple of players right then and there as the calm happens, as the players are waiting for the 5th circle to reveal the half in and half out and see who gets the pool. If you have that pool chance, then you don't have to rotate too far. And the most important thing is you get to save the utility and all the mobility that you have. As you can see here, not a bad rotation, as he doesn't have to go through too many people, but now he has to make the decision when is the best time to go. And that's why he's looking in the cone, and this is where the jockeying and the pressure that's coming in, Nuki, they know, hey, when someone else is in a cone. And that player knew that Nuki was chilling and watching. Vonix putting down the pressure on Nuki as we're seeing the lobbies trying to make the navigation. All the players on the right side, on the left side of the zone are going to have to decide whether they're going to pad on over or crash pad over. But these players right here have an opportunity to have a good old-fashioned box fight. And Nuki gets knocked out by Vonix. And Naort returns into the fray, but gets tagged in as he's going to try to push him in from that tough neighborhood that was in. And Vonix has to be aware that Nonyx does have the shockwave launcher. And who knows what it makes happen. And there's the sound right there, Sundown. And there it is. The movement of the lobby occurs, and a lot of people taking the pad route. There is a crash pad, as you see, from Wirtz to decide to go over. A Timbers player still alive in Spinks. Check next is up. Big Rich is up. I'm looking for other big names from the lobby, but Big Oop is up with about 149 plays and has the ability to keep going and make more big time plays.
And the Big Op has a big opportunity here at 150 points to capitalize. Still has 130 builds as well, and plenty of crash pads going to Op to start using those. Will take a tag without returning much. Is trying to tunnel in and find a little bit of space. You can see half in, half out is closing. We'll be going to full moving zones after this. On the side, you can see Chubbs is cute, WQ Warrior, Owl, Kinordi, Vachis, the big pick in there, Krish, Robabs, SPX of Timber, Nutex. So tons of players who are right around that top 100 mark. And again, with just 20 minutes to queue up, we're only going to have a couple of games. These players only have 1 or 2 opportunities to get points, to push towards that top 100 mark and to get a ticket to the grand finals, where they'll be battling for their shot of $250,000. But right now, it's all about this game, what they can do to close it out. Haptics is a decent position on the lobby. So does Exo Bar. You see the Big Op is in the back right corner. He has a decent amount of priority on zone as well, as players are going to begin rotating past him as we move in to the moving zones.
And that moving zone's going south. And this is going to be one of the first clean zones that we had. No mountains or water involved right now. It is getting closer to authorities. So let's see if it keeps putting down south, as we're on board here with Chubbs. Chubbs, the big cutie right now, going in with a big time shot, 118, and the nice tracking right there, 155, another player on the bubble looking to bust right in, and that's the big time plays right there that you need. Picking up eliminations on a rotation is so clean, especially while it's in the air. Looking on the top, Chubbs is at height, but that's not going to be that long, as he's going to have to move in. Al, someone who's been a big time player in the up and coming scene, has been having some nice placements on solos, is at height. Let's see who has a shockwave launcher. Last time we saw it in the hands of, I believe it was Anox, but he was on the outside looking in a little bit ago. But Al perks up on top here, Sundown. Has a very dominant position. And while Chubbs right now has a very strong kit to put in some more impact eliminations. And as you can see, there's nothing in sight and terrain. So it's all going to be player builds in and out. And Al does have the shockwave launcher. So he does have the kit, and he uses its ability to jump to the other side. And he's going to look for some connections. But Sundown, he does not have a lot of materials to sustain height.
He doesn't have materials to sustain height, and he only has 2 more rockets, so he needs to time those shockwaves correctly. If he goes too far out in the zone, he'll only have 1 to get himself back in instead. Opting to stick with Kit's charged shotgun, that mythic weapon just hits like a veritable truck, trying to get the wall replaces and trying to find the players here. He's working top down and only has 2 eliminations, also only on 169 points, so needs this point, needs to execute on this victory royale, but with 4 builds left, closing in on the top 15, it's going to be difficult. Hitting the tree for a pair, but he needs a refresh for more. He's going to drop on top of Haptics. He finds shot number 1, but doesn't find the cleanup with the AR afterward. And Nutex is on a rampage on the low ground. That's his second back-to-back elimination. He's turning it into more since Owl has no pressure from top down. He's on his very last build. That's his second to last shockwave. Used to go up for the high ground, and he's not going to find it. So Nutex, again, being the benefactor of it, he turns it into 5. Can he turn it into 6? Barely getting the siphon to stay in this. And Owl, while he's not really putting pressure on the lobby, he's still in, and we have our top 10, and he's still working and trying to find an angle.
Al sitting right now, finished in 92nd place in the NA West here at DreamHack, finished 8th place last time here in NA East, trying to represent the boys of D-Roller and Coop, who were finished 20th in that Cash Cup recently. So Al right now in shambles. Now he's looking for that desperate refresher, and more importantly, he does have 2 rockets, but he does get a surprise, and Al gets clipped right there by Slimy. Slimy now has all the tools in his kit, and he has 206 points. This is going to be a big game for Sundown right here, Sundown. This is going to be a big game for Slimy, and he has the materials, but he's going to have to be careful. Only down to a couple of materials now as I take a look. Only has a couple of builds, and it's going over water, but good thing it's going over old builds. But Slimy gets taken out. Down goes Slimy, but aggro. So now it's going to be an old school fashion finish right now. The shockwave launcher, I don't think he's going to be able to get picked up. So now it's going to be a 1v1 between Disco and Argo.
You can see Disco 199 points here on the low ground, 16 builds. Hanging out in the storm, going to take a couple ticks, needs to be aware of his positioning there. Those were unnecessary ticks, and Aggro is going to take the HP advantage away. Actually, Aggro is throwing the crash pads out on the low ground, trying to pop Disco up, saying pull, but not quite going to get it with the clay pigeon, as now Aggro takes a couple of storm ticks, needs to be aware of his HP. Disco going lower, 10 HP, finds the tick, and Aggro goes over as well. Disco on the hub, was on the ball there at the end, picks up the second elimination and the victory royale, gets him to 211 points. And that's what we're talking about at the end, where every single interaction and every single elimination matters. The swing between getting the elim and getting the victory royale is a 12-point swing, getting that over between second place and first, plus the elim. That is absolutely monstrous, and did a really good job closing that out by maintaining the positional advantage at the end.
Oh, man. That is going to be a crazy finish right there. Disco proving true, booging his way up closer and closer to the grand finals with Sundown. All the action is unfolding. You mentioned that all these games are coming to a close as the queue times is so close right now. Woo! Man, we still got the grand finals coming up. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And you talk about those queue times almost being closed with just 15 minutes left. The players are already in what could be their last game, or they're just getting elimination and desperately trying to hop into queue, hoping other players still have a game left and they can get one final opportunity to try and push into that top 100. Because once you reach 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, or wherever you are in the world, there's no queuing up. That is your last game, which means we'll We'll go probably about 25, 30 minutes over, and then we'll have that final leaderboard. We'll know who's advancing and playing in the grand finals right after this, where Monster D-Face and Shia will call the action with our amazing host, Kelly Link, as always.
It's going to be so interesting, Sundown, how it goes down. Especially, you know, I stumbled upon a clip from Clicks. He was talking about the pressures of being a professional player out here, the pressures of performing at a high level, not only for your organization, but for your fans out there. And so it's really important. It's really cool to see all these big names actually showing out and getting up there to the top 100. But it's always exciting to see new players make some waves out there. Like, I know D-Roller's not new, but it's cool to see him in the running out there. And it was exciting to see Coop, someone to come in hot, but I haven't seen Coop yet. I hope Coop could make the game and pull it together. I did see him a little bit on the outside looking in a couple of games back. Of course, Coop being the FNCS Solos champion, he's trying to go for a back-to-back 2 major wins, and I hope that he could get it all together, because I know I've been watching his Twitter. He's very excited. He's been trying to follow people back and people represent his Noti gang, all those kinds of things. So it's kind of cool to see new players still getting a nice footing here at the DreamHack Open.
And I mean, that's what it's all about, getting a footing, getting into this tournaments, and ultimately getting into the grand finals. But with the queues almost done, we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have the final bit of the semifinal action here for the DreamHack Open featuring Fortnite. So go get some water. We'll be right back.